funny friends, my funny friends, my funky friends now. My funny friends, my funny friends, my funky friends now.
Starring Drew Harrison and Will Abeles.
Welcome back to another My Funny Friends. It is the season 3 finale because, to be honest with you, this whole season has been a big old journey of my co-host, Mr. Will Abeles, recording that album and getting it out there. So it's time. It's about to be here. So what better way to close out season 3 than turning it over to the man himself and just letting him run wild. I know we're going to regret this later. We always do. We're going to let this man run wild and talk about his album and everything it has to do with it and all that good stuff. So, Will, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Drew. I genuinely thought you were going to say that this whole season has been a journey of just Will derailing his life.
Well, that too. We're going to talk about. I feel like we've talked about that a lot too. Let's talk about the payoff here. You know, the fun part of it.
I mean, yeah, and we'll get to that because there's a very specific spot in the special that I've had to watch so many times now that I just go, "Oh, you have no idea what's about to happen." But thank you, Drew. Yes, everyone, the long-awaited, much lauded, highly anticipated Pride of Hagerstown is finally coming to you this Thursday, courtesy of 4x3 Productions. It'll be on YouTube. The premiere link is live. You can check it out right now, get notified, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk about it with one of the executive producers himself, part of 4x3. Let's introduce Garrett Collier, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Garrett. Yeah, I'm a producer at 4x3. Started talking to my friend Will few months ago, and we kind of got the ball rolling. I've kind of been his main point of contact, so it's been a lot of me and him talking back and
just
forth,
talking it out,
making this thing happen. And dude, we're almost to the finish line, so I'm really excited.
Nice,
yeah,
man.
Me
Well,
too.
how, just a little about you. How'd you get started in the comedy business anyway?
Oh yeah. So I was actually working on movies for a long time, and I wasn't really enjoying it. I was kind of not getting as much traction as I wanted. The jobs were kind of not that fun. The hours were not that fun. And I saw this company. I'm based out of Cincinnati, and there was this local independent. Yeah, fun town. But there was this independent production company kind of making some cool stuff there called 4x3, and it was like I'd just seen their stuff on Instagram. I'd followed like the guy that started the company, and I'm like, man, they're doing some really cool stuff. So shot him a DM, was basically just like, hey dude, if you ever need an extra set of hands, I would love to be a part of what you guys are doing. It looks super cool. And at the time he like responded to me, and they didn't have any work for me at the time, so I kind of just like kept doing my thing, working on like commercials, movies for a little bit. I was doing a lot of like crew stuff, but then I was also like doing some shooting and editing stuff, whatever I could to pay bills pretty much.
Yeah.
And finally a couple months later, the guy that actually founded 4x3, Chase Crawford, he was the one that I sent the DM to. He responded, was like, hey man, we had somebody back out of a shoot. If you're free later this week, we could use some help. Yeah. And that was kind of just like the catalyst for getting the job with them. Started working with them after that. They kept me around, thankfully. And then we started, and at the time 4x3 similarly started in like film and TV production. Right. And we kind of just noticed this deal where like a lot of comics wanted to shoot specials, but they didn't necessarily have, and we were all comedy fans. Like, we are not comics. We have never done stand-up, but we just love the art, love going to shows and stuff.
Which I would say is the better version of that.
Yeah. So we were going to these shows and like talking to these comics, and we kind of noticed that there was like a big gap for them where you know, maybe they were ready to put some content out. Reels were getting really big at the time on Instagram and social and stuff.
Right.
But they didn't know like good production companies or good camera guys. Like there was kind of just a gap there, at least in Cincinnati. So we're like, well, you know, it's like it was kind of at the end of COVID. So like movies were still super restricted, and there was a lot of like just like tough workarounds with like, you know, COVID rules and stuff.
Right.
So we're like, well, let's try shooting some specials like that. You know, we have been doing TV film for a long time. Maybe we can kind of like start doing this as well and see where it goes. And it kind of just like took off. I mean, at this point, it's been that was like right when I first joined. I've been there. I've been with 4x3 for like not a little less than 2 years now. And I mean, it's kind of just been gas on the fire. Like once we started shooting the comedy specials, we were just seeing a lot of like success pretty much right off the bat. And then the comics were like super happy.
Yeah.
So it kind of just made sense to just even like take a little gas off like the TV film stuff and kind of just keep rolling with the specials and with the comedy because it was working so well. We were having so much fun doing it. And it's like, damn, this is the path became clear, I guess is a good way to put it, as far as like sort of a niche and a lane that we can carve out where comics need this service. We're big fans of comedy. It kind of just made perfect sense. We have like a lot of, and then this might have even been something me and you talked about, Will, but it's like, you know, there's also, I think, a need for comics to get help on the marketing side of things. Like,
yeah. And that's what we talk
the
about.
talent.
Yeah.
Like we suck at that.
Yeah. So it was just kind of cool to find this group that we were already like so much of a fan of, and then kind of bring our skills to the table as well and be like, okay, you guys have these jokes that you may have been writing for like 4 or 5 years that, you know, it's great to do them in a room full of 50 people all the time, but like we can make that audience even bigger. Like the internet is, you know, it's like unlimited pretty much. YouTube is over 1 billion users. So it's like, how can we get these jokes that you've been crafting and honing and working on and getting to a really good point? Like, how do we get those in front of more people? And it's kind of how it all started.
And that's such an important thing because like when you start getting into like kind of where Drew and I are at, you get to a certain point where you're like, I can do this at this level, but I can't go to that next level until I start getting some representation and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last few years, the industry has changed so much into like, sure, we can see the talent, but we also need you to have 100,000 subscribers or, you know, or whatever, you know what it means? So it's like, how do you do that unless you just tick away day by day, posting on YouTube, doing it or putting some money towards it? So this is like a great way to
quality content to do that. Because that's the best part of your first album is someone always told me is, and this is all of the rules have completely changed because, you know, it's not nearly comedy is a whole nother ball game. But everyone back in the day, they said you do your first album to sell your second. But now I feel like it's you do your first album to get such quality content to get your followers up.
Yeah. And then
you got to chop it up and just put it out there, you know, like it's crazy.
So that was an interesting, like the road to where we're at right now. Oh, also something very cool, and I'll shout him out, but you guys also shot Blake Wexler's special. Blake is a former guest of My Funny Friends, and he and I started comedy, and Blake was like the guy at Emerson College. So I've known Blake my entire career.
Yeah. So we were just the production team for that. I think 800 pounds is the one that is distributing that, but like we have a pretty good relationship with Anthony, the guy over one of the partners over at 800 pounds. So he kind of like had seen what we were doing. And I think Blake decided he's like from Philly, right? Or
he's from Doylestown, but he's from Philly.
That dude bleeds Philly though. Come on now.
Yeah, dude. He works for Philadelphia. He works for the Eagles now. You know.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Cool.
Yeah. But he was. So we went to college in Boston. After if I remember correctly, I went to New York, and I think he went straight to Los Angeles. I think he went straight to LA and was doing that thing for a bit because he's been doing it for so long. He already like was opening for people when he came out of college.
Nice.
And then I believe he met his wife, and they came back to Philly. And I think they just moved to New York. So we've always kind of just missed each other around the coast, essentially. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. So well, he shot it at Go Bananas in Cincy, which is
Right.
super fun club. And
Yeah, it's like everyone talks about Go Bananas in Cincinnati. It's just like one of the best clubs in the whole country.
dude, it's cool because Cincinnati's like it's a mid-market city for sure. It's not super big town, but it's like it's easy to kind of drive right through, especially like if you're headed south, because it's like right on the Ohio Kentucky line, so it kind of doesn't fit in either as far as like a southern city or like even the north. It's very Midwest, is basically. But it has like a really strong comedy scene. There's a ton of good comics here, and I think a lot of people like on the road love coming through here because the audiences are so like the town loves comedy. It's pretty cool, and I think we're pretty fortunate as like a production company to have such a good a good local club, and then a bunch of good like comics passing through all the time, and then even like some homegrown ones here. So it's like it's been a lot of fun, and even traveling as much as we have to shoot, it kind of makes you appreciate like what you've got here,
Yeah, sure. I can understand that for sure. And you go to certain scenes. Like I was in Knoxville doing Don't Tell on Friday. And Knoxville's got a great scene, but they don't have a club, which is something I know that they're trying to build towards. But even like I texted the producer, was like, hey, like we're in town a little early. Is there an open mic beforehand? He's like, no. And I was just like, oh, God. All right. So maybe we don't have it that bad here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what I was kind of getting at was when I did my first album, Regrets of My Father, that was like one of these things I can look back on, and like so it debuted at #1 on iTunes. Awesome. And then I didn't know what to do after that. Because I just was like, does someone just call me and say, hey, here are the keys now, man.
Someone
have fun driving.
Call me.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to shop it around. I didn't know what to do with it. And ironically, I just found the video footage of it because there was the whole thing was like a mess, and I don't want to go down the whole story of it. Like, long story short, we lost all the audio and had to release the album with footage recorded on my iPhone at the time.
Oh man, yeah.
And so but like the guy that edited it, he's won Emmys for audio editing. So like he took a turd and made it into like a little bit less of a turd.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
But that was the thing, was like I built myself a credit so I could like I could start headlining a little bit more, but not anything serious. Right. So I just didn't know what to do with it. And so I was trying to build towards my second album, which was called The Pride of Hagerstown. And we had it lined up to film in Portland, Maine. And then we were doing 2 shows. I was like, I think this might be my first special. Like, this is what I think I'm going to do. And then it collapsed because of 2020, because of COVID. And so I did it on Zoom. And that was honestly the hardest performance I've ever given in my entire life. Like, it was.
That's what you want to feel. That's the feeling you want from filming a special. That was the hardest performance I've ever had in my life.
And it broke me. Like, I couldn't like how, because it's when you run a long set, you feel it the next day a little bit, but the more you run it, the more you like you just like your skin, not your soul hardens, but you just get used to it, right?
Your soul definitely hardens. It's okay.
My soul's always hardened.
Those are the right terms.
Yeah. But we did it, like we did 2 shows. They each ran at like an hour and 15 minutes, and it's like about the same amount of materials I just did.
You did 2
Zoom shows back to back, and hour and 15 each. Honestly, fairly well attended for Zoom. And then but you would have to basically cue them to laugh, because you would step over each other and that kind of thing. So it'd have to be like the thing that I would say is like the joke would end and I go, which I never really do in my regular act, but I noticed when we were practicing it that I had to cue them. So when I would say, that became their cue to laugh.
The laugh, yeah.
And so you're just sitting there like, someone get me a gun so I can put myself out live on this camera.
Oh, that's funny. Dude,
So yeah, and so
that's interesting. Yeah, I
yeah,
bet the dynamic is totally different without that
A back
in-person
and
element.
forth. Yeah.
well, I'm just
Yeah, the
feeding off
punchline,
energy.
the
Like,
feedback, totally.
yeah, and I feed off energy a lot, and so if I'm not
Yeah.
getting it, I'm like, come
Well,
on,
I
you
mean,
don't
it
have to
messes
restrain.
up my timing. You know, like I can this 45 minutes of material can be 45 minutes if we're all on board and y'all are laughing and I'm giving you time to laugh. Or this can be 30
Yeah.
minutes and we can all get out of here if you just want to stare at me and not
Yeah.
laugh. You know, like
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
so Will, are
Um,
you since you went with the rename, you're gonna name this one Pride of Hagerstown as well. Are you taking
yeah,
down the old one? Or how's that dynamic?
well, it's kind of its own thing. Like it's its own. It's I think it's already off Spotify, which because I think that was just part of that time where
Purge?
Spotify just was like, I don't know what this is. We're taking it down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So I think I'll keep it on Bandcamp because some people have already like it already had it existed, and also it's not all the same material. Like there's a couple of jokes that made it from that one to this one, but it all kind of actually went back to a conversation. Well, there's a few reasons for the name change. The first one was like I remember a conversation with Anthony DeVito in Indianapolis where I was like first starting to talk about re-recording this thing. And originally I was going to do all the jokes from that one, but I just wasn't connected to all the material because it was basically a breakup album. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
just was like not really feeling that material. Now I could do it. But I just wasn't really feeling connected to a lot of that material. It was like some of them were like stories from New York that I just like they kind of only work in New York, you know.
Mm.
So that was like what kind of got my brain back towards like, maybe I should be calling this the Pride of Hagerstown, like just that conversation, which was like 2 years ago.
Personally, I
Uh,
like the title change a lot.
Thank you.
From
Thank you.
the original, what were we originally going to call it?
Well, it was Alive and Well.
Yeah,
And,
where did
and again, another
I've always
person
wanted to ask you where did that come from? Is it because of the
that
past
was
year just being difficult? Like
yeah, that's where it sort of started. And then also I just thought aesthetically, it's like
Will
A and
Abel's
W,
alive and
W.
well? I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
So that's where that sort of came from. But I just never really was in love with it.
Mm.
To
And
me, it
when
always
I
sounded
came out,
like you were a former Disney star, and this was your first like
and I just got out of
I
rehab.
play a
Yeah.
guitar. Yeah, I just got out of rehab. I broke up with my other Disney star girlfriend, and I just
Yeah.
took
He
a
dumped me for Pete
photo
Davidson.
cover
Yeah.
of me shirtless with my guitar, like like
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Pride of Hagerstown is much more personal, and without giving too much, you kind of explained it in the special. So I
Right.
think that I like whenever you can sort of pull something out, like a good soundbite or title like that from the material within the special. So
Yeah.
I think
And
I like the switch a
and
lot.
I agree with you. And also our good friend Brandon Gerald was also like, yeah, me and Fallon were talking about it. And Fallon's another good friend of ours. Who's like our comedy,
who
like our
absorbs a
like
lot of
our
comedy. So
comedy buddy.
I
Yeah.
trust her opinions on things.
But they both said like, yeah, we're just thinking about like it doesn't really make any sense to what you're talking about. It doesn't, and all of a sudden I was like, yeah, okay. And
Like it
then
almost was an
truthfully,
inside joke, is we knew what it meant. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like
yeah,
we
yeah,
got
yeah. And
it
that's
that
what I kept
Will's
thinking about.
alive and well, but I was worried it was going to, like you said, translate.
New fans might miss it for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so a couple things then after happened. So I heard like Brandon say that. I was thinking about Anthony's conversation. I was thinking about like how much I loved the title Regrets of My Father when I did that.
Yeah.
And I've always loved the Pride of Hagerstown line. So I was like, I think this is the special I've been trying to make for a couple years.
Mhm.
Right.
And then honestly, just like in my personal life, did not feel well at all. Like I just totaled my car.
Yeah,
I mean,
Don't
I
wanna
just
lie to
felt
people.
living a lie.
yeah, it felt like a curse. I felt like I cursed myself with like, my finances were like all over the place. My girlfriend and I broke up, totaled my car, and I was just like mentally unwell. And I was like, I don't think I should be putting this special out with this name. So, and honestly, since I switched to Pride of Hagerstown and made the decision, everything's going uphill again. So I'm like,
There you
what
go.
the fuck just happened?
I'm still, and plus a little bonus is I'm still hoping for the social media feud between you and LA Knight.
LA Knight. I'm gonna keep pushing, man. He
Yeah.
saw one post but he's
We
not
need
really
to go
watching the
if
rest.
they're in
But
town. If they're in town, we got to make some Pride of Hagerstown. Like Will Abels is the real Pride of Hagerstown. And, like really drive this
Whoa,
home.
whoa. Hey, so give me some context here.
So there's a pro
there's a-
wrestler for WWE. He started off, he was Eli Drake. Now his WWE name is LA Knight, and he's from Hagerstown, Maryland. So
not just from Hagerstown. He's from the graduating class in North Hagerstown High School. He and I went to the same high school.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
And if I remember correctly, I think his dad was one of the training coaches, like because like the way I don't know, our gym works is like you would take like gym 1, 2, and 3, and then you could like go into weightlifting if you wanted to. And I think he was like the weightlifting coach. If I remember, I might be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's. It's just
that's.
one of
I
those
mean, it
memories from high
sounds
school.
right.
Like,
He
I
looks
don't-
like one of those dudes whose dad was like a weightlifting coach for sure.
Yeah, and he's not that much older than me, so I'm sure we know a ton of the
That's
same
what I'm
people.
saying, man. I'm trying to get this going for you. Beef is great for both parties involved.
Yeah, true.
Well,
How
you know,
can
he's
we
going to be like-
orchestrate this? This
Right.
needs to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna, once every couple of
Whatever
days,
y'all
I'll
come up with,
try
just
and-
let me know.
try and
I'm on
poke the
board.
bear. Try and poke the
Yeah.
bear. See if I
Dude,
can
we
get his
need to
attention.
get you. We need to send you. We'll buy you a plane ticket down to Austin, get you on Kill Tony, and then that's where you call him out. Just a big like you know
I love
that
it.
like
I love it.
WWE kind of energy to it. Honestly,
Purposely bomb just to spend 2 minutes roasting LA Knight. They're
I
like,
s-
what is all this context makes no sense.
I say at the very least, and this is me. I'm being for real here. At the very least, to help promote the album, you got to cut an old school wrestling promo for like Instagram.
Oh my god, we should
that'd
do
be
that.
fun.
I can
we
help
should
you
do
with
it,
that all
and-
day. I can be like old school, like Mean Gene Okerlund, and like interviewing you. We got this. We got.
Yeah,
we'll
should do
come
that.
up with
I
it.
think that's.
I like it.
And then that way we can get the first initial shot fired at LA Knight as you
Yeah.
being the real Pride of Hagerstown.
Of Hagerstown, yeah.
And
Hear
then if it
that, LA
takes off,
Knight?
you
Coming
see,
for you now.
WrestleCade 2024.
Knee-high
It's like-
boots and
Yeah, and as you know, I'm not really a wrestling guy, but like watching his clips, because now I'm like, he's like the only wrestler I follow on Instagram. He's the
great.
only wrestler I've ever followed my
He's
entire life now.
fantastic. Yeah.
And and I'm like, this guy's blowing up right now.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta see this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like literally becoming like one of the biggest wrestlers.
He got called
there at the
out,
moment.
and I love him too because I love petty stuff, and he got called out by an old wrestler for being a ripoff of The Rock and Stone Cold. So this old wrestler that called him out has this old promo where he says,
This guy?
he says the adjective, but he means the verb. And so LA Knight's latest promo is like, when you look at the verb, because if you're an idiot, you'd say adjective, but it's really verb. So he called him out on that on like national television. It was so good.
He's showing that incredible North Hagerstown High School public system education did work.
Yeah, we got
dude,
this.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, okay, funny story. You guys know Jillian Michaels, wrestling fans? Yes, no?
He does.
Very, very she's from my hometown. So
Okay.
Oh,
you know,
I grew
wrestling
up,
pedigree.
I grew up right in the same hometown as the Hardy Boys with their backyard.
Nice,
wrestling
that's
and
way
stuff.
cooler.
Yeah.
So much
Look at us.
cooler.
Look at our alma mater.
North Carolina. North Carolina's just white
Legends.
trash wrestling.
Yeah.
Hit each other with steel
Oh, dude,
chairs. When you're
Hardy Boys
14.
were the shit back in the day, dude.
Yeah, I went to a party
Were they-
at their
were they Suck It
big
guys?
warehouse one time. It was really cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Were they the Suck It guys, Drew?
The what?
Was that them? Were they the guys doing Suck It?
No, it's
When everyone was
DX.
doing like,
That's
DX,
Shawn Michaels
yeah.
and Triple H. Yeah, that got me in all
Yeah.
kinds of trouble growing up.
oh my
Yeah.
god! If you weren't doing that, you didn't have friends.
Yeah, man. Our school almost outlawed wrestling shirts, period. Because it
Wow.
got out of hand there for a little bit.
Yeah, ours
so.
was
Wow.
I think I was in middle school during that era, so it's kind of funny to think of like a 13-year-old running around yelling "suck it" like a prepubescent boy.
Yeah.
Oh, it kind of makes perfect sense though, really, if you think about it, you know?
There's like I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Garrett, the way you guys got on my radar, because I've been following you guys for a little while, and because of like I helped produce Drew's special last year, and then just like from what I learned doing the
We
Zoom
learned
album and
so
doing
much.
the other one, it's trial and error. The whole career's been
Yeah.
trial and error, you know.
Hey, that's how it should be.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
you tell yourself it's
But-
more fun that way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more fun that
But
way.
Yeah, but I remember like when I was setting up to shoot this thing, because originally I was going to do it in October, 6 months prior, and I just was not in the headspace to do it. And I would argue I wasn't in the headspace in March either. But like you gotta
A
do what you
case
gotta
could
do.
be made.
Case could be made. This wasn't the best time to do it, but I already knew like what to do, right? So I was like, well, I don't know if I need a production company for like this part of it, right?
Mhm.
And then I actually started chatting with Harrison Tweed about
Yes.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know Harrison he just had his put it on tape come out, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like his
Like
10
2
minutes
weeks
out
ago, I
there.
think.
Yeah, and Harrison, I've known Harrison for a long time. Like we've never been super close, but he's always been a good dude to chat to, and I've always always liked him. But yeah, he was the one that was like hype me up. He was telling me everything, and then that's how I got in touch with you. And I met, and then if you remember, I originally actually was approaching you to see if I could start producing with you guys.
Yeah.
Because truthfully, I had somebody in my ear telling me that I needed to get out of stand up. And I was like, well, it's been like my whole life. So how do I like do this still, not really get out of stand up, but just being like, start creating other options for yourself.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Pivot. So then when you were like, well, we had that conversation and you were just pretty honest about it. But then we started chatting about the special. And that's when I was like, I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't get you guys involved. Like it's something I look back and I'm like, this was a great moment because like I really would have been floundering with this thing.
Well, what do you think? Because with your headspace being where you're at, do you feel like this was, because I know you mess around with the idea of not pushing far with the project to begin with. So like I feel like these guys came around at the right time because like I remember talking to you one day and you're pretty down and out about it, and then the next thing you know, like we're back, baby.
Will, do you remember who talked you into rolling with it?
Because I was on that trip with my ex-girlfriend and he was like, I don't think you want to reshoot this, man. And I was like, you know what? He's seeing something that I don't see, and I know I'm hypercritical. Dude. And I think, and it's our good friend Evan Burke. He's pretty much the only other person that's seen the special at this point besides us, and he nailed it on the head. And I think this is where my brain was going. Is I'm very like the specials. It's funny because like when I watch me, I do feel like I'm watching a bit of a different comedian than what I normally do because I'm just professional. Like, it's just like I'm just insanely professional.
You lied to me. You can actually be professional. Get out of here,
dude. It's so what Evan said when he saw it. He goes, "This is funny because it's not Will Abel's the rock star that like might get in trouble after the show." And I was like, "That's what it is. Like that's what I was watching because I'm not as loose as I normally am." And I'm just like doing the job like a professional. And so it was just, I think that's what was like going in the back of my mind the whole time. And it wasn't until Evan put his finger on it that I was like, oh, that's what it is. I just thought I could be a little bit crazier. But now I watch it and I'm like, I'm really glad I didn't do that. Like, totally. So yeah.
Well, I was going to say, it's so often, dude, that we work with a comic, shoot something with them. They, either maybe they, in your case, like, submit something to us for distribution, and then they kind of start feeling this like something starts creeping up on them. It's like some doubt or some kind of like I feel like you made a post about putting yourself out there, and they start getting super critical and they think that the jokes aren't hitting or the laughs aren't, and I'm like, dude, this is funny, like I promise you. And I guess I relate on some levels as far as like when you make something and you finish it and you're like, okay, it's done, and you're looking back on it and you're like, it's terrible, it's so bad, why did I do this, I hate everything about it. And it's like sometimes all it takes is getting a second set of eyes or another perspective to be like, dude, chill out, this is funny, this is a great special,
right? Here's
what we can do to elevate it. If you have some concerns, let's throw some color grading on it. Let's, do this, do that, make it look good, make it feel good. And like, I feel like we finally made it to a point now where I'm stoked about it. It seems like, you're happy with it. Like it ended up coming out really strong. And it's funny because it started from a place where like one of the first conversations we were having. Yeah. So I always try whenever I start to kind of feel a comic become worried or self-doubt or like second guess, I'm like, especially when it's actually good and they're just being overcritical,
Yeah.
it's like, hold on, let's take a step back. Let's think about it. But this is good. With this, we
Right.
got to do something with this.
And, and to that note, I think like what changed in my head is like, you know, if Drew sees it, Drew will go, "Oh, I've seen you do okay." Like Drew's seen me do long sets. Like Drew's gonna know what I'm talking about. But you'd never seen me before, and so from that perspective, that's what we're going for is people who have never seen me before,
Yeah,
right?
for
And so,
sure.
and that's what sort of changed my head, where I was like, "Yeah, I'm being critical, but I'm also I know me." And also once we started, because like we only had the one take, so that's one thing I don't know if people are ever going to realize. We shot this, it was one go, and and then see what happens. So once we started editing around some of the like the little mistakes, and I could see it put together, and I was like, oh, this just goes. This is great. That's when it started calming me down a bit more because I could like enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
But in the early editing stages, you're just like, how are we gonna do this?
Yeah. Yeah, when
Like,
people are
what?
breaking glasses and shit.
Oh my god, I
Doing, yeah,
know.
yeah. The beauty of editing, my brother. It's gonna
Yeah.
make this seem like it never even happened.
Well, we had multiple multiple glasses break, and then also Brandon's grandmother, her phone went off like first thing,
Yes, yes, yes.
and there was one other thing that might have happened, but I can't quite remember off the top of my head.
Of
Oh
course, the
well,
audiences will never know any of this. This is only for the
yeah,
real fans that watch the pod.
yeah, yeah.
But
And we
This is the
did, and we
director's
did,
cut edition right here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah. Well, we also made the artistic decision to keep some of
yeah.
the misses, because it
Funny.
does remind them that this is live and this is what happens, and I
Exactly.
enjoyed that because that kind of insanity really does kind of embody Will Abel's comedy of just like, let's see what happens tonight.
Yeah. And sometimes it works sometimes it
Timing
works.
worked well.
Sometimes like the way
you
you
know
riff off of the moment is you get a big boom of laughter or whatever. So it's like worth keeping in. It's worth keeping in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it shows the audience because like the way I handled both those situations, I didn't have like a meltdown,
No,
like
no, no. You rolled with the
like
punches and had fun.
yeah, and that just
Wait a
keeps the
minute. Wait
audience
a minute.
calm and in the moment. And
You're
yeah,
capable of not having a meltdown?
bro, you don't even know. You haven't seen me in a while. I'm just nothing but professional.
Nothing but
I'm
just
just
chilling and good vibes
shaking
over here.
shaking hands and
Not
kissing
throwing
babies, man.
chairs, not melting down. Digging it.
Well, that's another thing is I sort of like wasn't doing open mics and I wasn't doing as much comedy in Nashville as I had been probably prior. And so now that I like just have nothing but time because I don't have like a girlfriend to spend time with, like I've just been going to the mics and now I'm like, oh, in the year that I've kind of not been around, there's crazier comics out there than me now. So now, like now I actually am a calm comic compared to some of these lunatics we got running around our open mics. Like, it's just like I love it. Like I'm home.
Dude, it's funny. So I was telling you this, Will, but like we haven't spent a ton of time in Nashville. We haven't
Yeah,
shot
right.
anything there. Joe Kelly. We talked to him a while ago, and I think that he was like maybe looking to do something like at the end of this year, so that could still happen. But like we haven't really been. I know that 800 Pound is like based out of Nashville, I believe.
Yeah, but they don't do a
Um,
ton around our scene specifically.
right,
I know
right,
there's a comic that works with them, like he like works for them, but that's like his dual life kind of thing.
sure.
And they'll come around Zanies. I know that much. Like if they want to come see like Joe List or something, I know they have a connection and they can just go see those guys.
Hmm.
And I had a meeting with them once about possibly editing for them, but that's I didn't want to wasn't going in that interview as an editor because I was just learning how to edit, and even
Yeah,
now I still barely know how to do it. I was asking like if you need a PA on set,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
like they sit me down, they're like, "Hey, this is gonna be our new editor," and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, do you know how to use Adobe Premiere?" I was like, "No, like what are you talking about? Like what is this?" I wanted to like rap chords, like.
Yeah, that's funny.
um, but yeah, but like they're based here in Nashville. My interactions with them have always been nothing but positive.
Same.
Like
They're great.
even with the Zoom album, when I was like, maybe I can shop this around, but I knew I couldn't. But they even gave me like a positive feedback too, where they were like, "Hey, we listened, like, but we're just not going to produce this because it's like it's a Zoom album, you know. I mean, it just sounds so insane." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I mean, I agree with you." But
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I won't say, I'm not going to say any names, but like as far as us kind of breaking into the comedy scene, being like the little guy, independent, sort of still trying to find our place at the table, they have been nothing but really cool and helpful to us. So nothing but good things to say about 800 Pound. I think that as far as 4x3 is concerned, they're the homies. They're always showing love and helping us out. So big props to them, because there's been at least one other comedy company that's not been as friendly. I won't, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah,
but,
I get
you
you. I
don't want
respect
to.
that.
but they have been super cool and they put us on with that exact for your
Blake, yeah,
with Blake Wexler. So that was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
and they did that in Cincinnati, right?
That was at Go Bananas.
That's so funny because I think again this was before I think I even met you, but I do remember seeing Blake recording in Cincinnati, and I was like, "What's he doing in Cincinnati?" I was like,
Yeah,
because I just remember like not really knowing the connection. Like, and I knew Go Bananas was a great club, so it wasn't that. I just had never seen him perform in Cincinnati
Yeah.
before.
It seemed kind of funny the way that it all came together, because yeah, he's a Philly guy, and then Anthony 800 pounder in Nashville. So we were kind of like, what are you guys doing here? But hey, we're happy to work with you, but like,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Like, it was just kind of funny because yeah, I was like, we were talking to Blake maybe like even after we had shot with him, and I don't know if you guys know Cy Amundsen.
I know the name, but no, I don't think
He's a stand-up. He is the one that like kind of directed that, and I think even sort of like um put the pieces together for us to kind of get connected with 800 Pound. Awesome dude. But he was a friend of Blake's and of Anthony's, and like I think just knew about us maybe like from social media.
Yeah.
And recommended that we would be the ones that shoot it. But it was funny. We were like, so yeah, like we're like, Blake, why Cincy? And I don't know exactly kind of what it was. I think the Bananas was just like a good middle ground for both of them.
It's got
and
a
they
great
knew that
name
they
about it too, like
Well, and
Exactly.
it's respected
and
in the comedy community. Like, you filmed your special at
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
Bananas? That's cool.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's something like going into the as this wraps up and I start looking towards what's the next project, start building the next hour or whatever it is. I would love to do the next whatever in a club. Like I would love to like have that backing and that audience support and all that kind of stuff. Because I had such a great time with the Five Spot. They were so good to work with, but they're not a traditional comedy club. So we,
People
had to
didn't know
bring
how
the
to
chairs
act.
in. The room's not quite set up for it. We worked around it, and it was just like a really cool spot to do it. But so I guess like, and maybe some of that mindset for like Blake and everybody, it was like, if you can get a club,
Mhm.
just take it. Like,
Like, that's why I
Evan
feel
did
like
Third
mine
Coast.
went so
Great,
well.
yeah.
Mine went smooth.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Dead Crow
yeah,
took care
100%.
of
Like,
it. Like,
yeah, and like selling out on was it Saturday night?
Yeah.
We did too. We
Yeah.
did it Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, and so like we had 4 shows for Drew's, and really
First
wasn't
two were
until Friday
rehearsal, and we
that
just
that
filmed
you
the
got
early.
to actually run the set,
We
right?
we filmed the early show Saturday, and the guy looks at me. He's like, "We're not gonna film the second one." I was like,
Yeah.
"All right." He's like, "It's not gonna get better than that." I was like,
And he was right.
I'm cool, man."
Yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a great feeling. And it's funny in our experience, every time that we do two nighters, I don't know what it is, dude, but it's always like one of the nights will just absolutely crush. And then the other night, the audience, like, it just feels like
Something's
it's
off.
so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, something is off, but it's funny because like that's what we say to comics too. And it feels like most of the time it's that first night, kind of, how like you were saying, Drew, where it's like, we'll shoot a Friday, Saturday. The Friday night will just crush. We'll tell the comic, dude, we got it. Don't worry. Saturday night is insurance. And then the Saturday night, like the audience will heckle, or shit will be falling off the tables. It's like,
Or you
I'm
hear
glad
some
we
weird
got this
fan,
Friday.
you're like, "Where did that come from? That wasn't here last night."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it's like some because I've always been back and forth. I've never been able to figure out what's better, a Friday night or Saturday night. Like, because when we did a club recently,
I
and
feel like a Saturday early show is just.
but we had a
I
good,
feel like that's
the
the
good,
best the club's gonna give you.
yeah. But our late show Friday was good, which was weird.
That's
But
crazy
I think
because
there's
late show
like,
Fridays usually are
it's
terrible. That's why a lot of
yeah,
top,
right. Is
like Steve Martin says, if anyone asks him why'd you quit traveling stand up, he's like late show Fridays.
that what he said?
Yeah,
Oh, I've never heard that. That's so funny.
he hated
Well, I
doing the
also think
late
with
show at
Saturday,
clubs.
Huh.
I don't know. I always think Saturday might it's dictated by how heavily the town is drinking during the day.
Yes, I was just about to
And
say.
that's why late
Just
show
about to
Saturday is
say
always
that.
weird
People
in
haven't drunk.
Wilmington because people have been drunk the whole day.
I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I like don't remember your second show.
Because you started hanging out with the
You know,
bros. Those bros got
no,
you.
I was hanging out with Laura. I was
Oh,
hanging out
yeah.
with Laura and your
Well, she's a
bartender
bro.
friend, and he just we were like, all right, like Drew's gonna kill this special night, and then I'm sitting there like I'm already ready to go. Like I think I don't have to change or anything. Like I'm ready for the night. So I'm just sitting there like, well, I guess I'm just sitting at the bar today while Drew goes preps, mentally preps and stuff. And so like I went into the first show, fine, had a great set, like got you where you needed to go, like did the job. And I remember having a good set the second show. But I don't remember much else about it because it was just a full day of drinking in Wilmington.
Yeah.
Yeah, full
And I
weekend
wouldn't
of
change it for the
drinking
world.
because we did it that Friday. That Friday we stayed out doing all kinds of stuff.
I like,
Man. I threw up on the walk back to the hotel. It's just that town,
Oh,
man.
dude.
It's just that
That
town.
was me. That was me this Friday, bro. Yeah.
Nice.
Went to a little show in town. We had the weekend off from shoots, so I just went to a buddy's mic. And dude, you always
I
are
love
gonna
hearing
be,
that. I love hearing that you
yeah.
had the weekend off of shoots and you still went to a show.
Dude, I mean,
No, I
that's
love it. I
like
love it. It's
comedy.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. It's like I really I never would have thought I'd be working in comedy, but now that I am, I really don't see myself. I'm like, I love this shit. As far as like a fan goes, dude, I feel like I'm as much of a fan as somebody could be.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
With I don't have, and I know my lane. I don't ever want to go up there and do it myself, really. But I love going to the shows. I love being friends with comics. I
You do the
love
important
understanding.
parts though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the important. That's
But
like that's the best thing is you parlayed your fandom into doing the stuff we suck at doing so bad. So
yeah.
hats off to
You're
you,
gonna
man. Like we the
you're gonna
comedy
say that
world
now.
doesn't revolve without you though.
Yeah, absolutely.
dude, appreciate that. Appreciate that.
And I do
What do
want
you
to
mean,
pick.
dude? It doesn't involve you without you guys.
We would just be talking into a corner somewhere. Like I don't like without marketing and people to get our stuff out there. We'd be just
All
doing
right.
open mics for forever. But I do want
Doing
to
no mics
pick your
for-
brain because I do feel like the whole landscape of this stuff is changing. So like I do want to touch on
Yeah.
what do you think the right now is and what do you think the future is? Because like right now I feel like it's the putting it out on
Good
YouTube,
question.
getting the world to see, chopping it up. We talked
Yeah.
about it, chopping it up, doing the clips. But me and Will have been talking about this whole season is
Yeah.
we don't
It's been a heavy theme.
I think the clips are going away. Like I'm not getting nearly the numbers I was getting on the clip. Like I'm
Mhm.
like TikTok is up and down. Like I don't know if TikTok like I've heard that from a few comics say they're not
Dude.
getting the numbers they were getting on TikTok. So I mean just wondering if that's
So-
over and where do we go from there?
Yeah. Well, TikTok, because it's I'm glad you asked me that. TikTok is kind of not really showing love to stand-up clips anymore. We're seeing the same thing, but for whatever reason, I think it's like if you use like the hashtag stand-up comedy or stand-up on TikTok, the algorithm isn't pushing it like it once was. I think because there's Chase, my boss, was breaking it down to me, boss/partner, and
I
he
think
was
he's
saying that.
boss.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, TikTok is like, I think it just became so saturated
Yeah.
where like because clips were so hot and everybody was posting them that the app kind of just started deeming it like undesirable content, I think is like the in quotations thing that they used for it.
So
So
don't use those
I think
hashtags.
Right. Don't use those
Okay.
hashtags. And a lot of people are trying to do clips that are a minute or less. They want those quick hitters.
Mhm.
But and okay, I will say this is just like anecdotal stuff, but we're friends with the guy that shoots all of Matt Rife's clips.
Okay.
So he, obviously that dude is like
Easy.
doing insane
You
numbers,
figure stuff
and
out.
he's kind of on top of the clip world. But he was saying that their thing they've been up to now is they're posting clips longer than a minute, like
Okay.
5 minutes, 10 minutes,
So
six,
little
7 minutes,
jokes now.
on TikTok.
Can you do that on
Yeah, like
TikTok
full,
now?
exactly, full sequences on TikTok.
Uh,
Um, and that's kind of what's been performing well. So we've been
okay.
dabbling with that. I also think that Matt Rife is
He
just
can do
like
anything.
a
Whatever he
cheat
puts out,
code,
people are
the
gonna
dude,
watch.
the
Yeah,
cheat
yeah, yeah.
code.
Yeah, when you get enough
Right.
followers,
So
it's like it doesn't matter. Like your bomb is not
That's
the
the
rest
best.
of our
Yeah,
bomb.
like we're
Yeah.
trying to wait. We're trying to find that algorithm wave because we have to. Like once you get that name
yeah,
about you, I can start reading books, and people will be like, "Well, I'll give it a shot." Like once you
yeah,
have
Yeah.
your
yeah.
fans, I feel
It's
like
pretty
that's when
crazy.
you have that true freedom to do what you want. But like right now, we're trying to find that algorithm to get the fans in the first place.
Totally. And I think to kind of really answer your question, I, I'm gonna obviously biased because like we're building this platform for comedy, but I think we will always support and be on the team of the comic that is self-releasing, that is doing their thing. Like, dude, we're independent. We love when other people go the independent route. We get it. We think it's awesome. But I do think that there is some value. One thing me and Chase have been talking about recently is like, sometimes when you put something out yourself, and I don't know like how your special did, for example, but like YouTube will favor that new channel hour long thing, especially if it's like unmonetized. They'll pump your shit. We've seen specials like somebody puts out their first thing, self releases, it gets 20K, 30K, 40K, whatever. um but then sometimes they put out that second thing and it doesn't, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And a lot of that is just because YouTube is going to be favorable to like a new channel. They want you to stay on the app and stay posting, so they're going to push your shit out to a lot of people. And then sometimes once you start putting out that third, fourth, fifth, sixth thing, it's like you're not seeing that same love from the algorithm. And I
yeah,
think that the unique benefit of like what we're building and what we're doing is, we're I think we just hit maybe like 12 and a half or 13,000. Dude, YouTube is hard.
Yeah.
so
YouTube is
hard.
hard to
I'm
grow.
still
I've
battling
been
my
talking about
first
that a lot
1,000.
too.
I'm at
Yeah.
900. I just hit 900. I'm at
Yeah,
904.
dude,
I've
it's
been doing this
tough.
thing for years.
Yeah, we've been
I've
putting
tried
a
different
special out,
shows, everything.
yeah, every week for over a year. And I mean, we don't even have 20K, which is like, the point is, it's just tough to build, man. I mean, we're spamming YouTube, going hard, making stuff, putting it out, and like, it's a tough platform to grow on. It's the hardest by far. Instagram,
I feel like it's the most rewarding
um,
though. Like I
yeah, it
feel like you
is.
can be
It
a
definitely is.
flash in the pan on Instagram, like because
Yeah.
I have been very fortunate, and I've had the video take off on TikTok. I've had the video take off on Instagram. My special, I'm very lucky it hit 34K, like you said. People
Dude, awesome. That's
independent,
incredible.
but now I'm trying to find that sustainability. Like why
Yeah,
I won't,
yeah.
I don't, I'd sacrifice the one video hitting 100K for
Yeah.
consistently getting 5K eyes on every
Every day.
project you're doing.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
I
dude.
Yeah, I've been trying to hit short. Like I've been trying to like do the job I should have been doing the entire time. But again, now I'm in the headspace to actually do it, and certain voices are not in my ears anymore. But you guys have voices in your heads, right?
Yeah.
No, but I just had to laugh the other day because I've been like trying to post a short every day for a month just to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
And I have seen like you basically get like a subscriber per post essentially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, but then the only one that's hit 10K or even broke 3K for that matter was like a meme that I built, and I was like, God damn it. Because the rest of it's just been like content or like me saying something. And then I just put together like I was watching like Instagram Reels, I think, And I just thought it was so funny when I saw like Jack Black doing when he was playing the toy saxophone on Jimmy Fallon.
Mm.
And I don't know why that just cracked me up. So I just made a joke about imposter syndrome and had that little thing on
Yes,
it.
I remember this. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
funny.
Blew up on YouTube in my intents, and I was like, I'm not going to become a meme comic, like,
Right.
but like if it's going to draw people to me, I guess I will. You know?
You gotta put your hand in everything nowadays, man. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. And I will say they are pretty fun to make because it's just clever, and I'm like, oh, I get why people do this. Like, it's a different muscle. It's not, you know,
That's
not
the route
stand up.
I'm going. Is I'm gonna make the content. You know, I'm good. It's gonna
Yeah.
have mixed reviews. It's gonna, some things are gonna do well, some are not. So I'm just trying to have. If I have fun making the content, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It'll never not be like if I'm working on a video and it takes too long, but I'm still in, like, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. I know it's gonna flop. Like, you feel it. I'm like, I just spent 40 minutes of my day on this, and you know, and it took 5 years to get
Yeah.
this joke to even be here in the first place.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, if I'm enjoying it, I'm like, this is going to flop, and then I post it, and it's just like one like from Drew Harrison, and I'm like, hell yeah, baby.
Yeah.
If
Dude,
it's just
so,
one, I'm taking that like back. I'm sorry. I'm like, I can't be the only one out here.
I can't. They can't see this.
Well, I've recently followed you now, Will, from the personal Instagram. So, dude, I got
There
you.
you go.
I'll be.
There you go.
I'll throw some.
Yeah.
You'll be my second like.
Yeah.
You'll be my second like.
Yeah. Garrett, where do you
That'll be
think
perfect.
this is headed? Do you think it's just going to continue being? Are we still? You think get blessed with the big names putting their? Because I mean, right now it's fantastic. You know, you can go on YouTube, you can watch a Joe List special, you can watch a Sam Morril special.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it's going to continue? Like, is YouTube the platform? Because I mean, is gone are the days of unless your name's Chris Rock or Bill Burr, gone
Well, I
are the
think-
days of making big money on specials from Netflix or Amazon or anything like that. So like, is YouTube the future, or is something weird going to take off?
I
Well, the
think
strike's making it interesting. Like, is the strike affecting you guys at all?
no, not really, because we're not.
If anything,
we're
more
not
writers
union.
are putting out YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's-
dude. So, yes, I do think that YouTube right now is kind of the wave. And I think that you're only going to see more independent avenues for comics to put their stuff out, whether that's an independent platform like us, or whether that's self-releasing, or whether that, and I think that in general for all content, I think like user generated stuff, which is what, like, look how many users TikTok has, dude. And that is what that whole platform is. It's not, a lot of it's not corporate curated. You don't have like a marketing team drafting up the most popular accounts on there. It's like people like watching other funny people that they're entertained by, and that's what they want to follow, and that's what they want to, like, I don't know about you, dude, I barely watch Netflix anymore. I've watched
Oh yeah,
YouTube.
same. Yeah,
I watch like pretty much mostly YouTube. I know that there's like still some good, if there's like a really good show on a streaming service, I'll watch it. But like for the most part, I just like watching either content creators or like people that I resonate with. I think they make good stuff. And I know that once a week or whatever their schedule is, they're going to be putting a video out, and I'm going to be excited about it. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of the direction things are going to continue to trend. But you know, at the same time, Netflix and these big platforms have so much money, and they're such a big beast. I don't think that they're going to be going away. I think you'll always see the hottest thing at the time getting. So I think like Matt Rife might be doing Netflix. I think like Shane Gillis just did Netflix.
Yeah,
I think these people that are like on this, you know, star, like just exploding in popularity,
Yeah.
Netflix is going to have the money to always entice those people.
right.
But for the comic that's on the come up, or the comic that wants to continue to build their brand, or the comic that just wants to get exposure, their best option is always going to be on YouTube, because YouTube has, you know, it has more users than any of those streaming platforms do. So if Netflix isn't knocking on your door, then yeah, you need to be finding a way to get it out yourself or to work with a company like us, to get it out there. It's like, but dude, so I'm kind of glad you asked me this question because do I think it's always going to be YouTube or do I think something else will come up? I we are still very much in the bare bones planning, discussing of it. But dude, don't be surprised in a couple of years when there may or may not be an app or website or something purely devoted to comedians and stand-up comedy.
That's fantastic.
So I'm just saying that now.
Yeah.
Just talking about it now.
Hey,
Don't be
here's your
surprised.
receipt.
Yeah. Whenever there's a platform that is like, because comedy's not going away, dude. The world, respectfully, is a scary, shitty, sad place. And what do people want to do right now? They just want to laugh, man. Like, like people are getting bombarded with shit about war in Ukraine, global warming, like all this negativity all the fucking time. And it's like the saving grace of that is what you guys are doing, man. It's like people just want to, for an hour a day or on a Friday night or sitting in their living room watching YouTube, they just want to like laugh and enjoy themselves because shit is always just down, down, down. The economy's bad. Biden's letting 1 million, I don't, you know what I mean?
Jobs
one thing or another. Yeah. It's fucking bad every day. Every time you open social media, the world is going deeper into the shitter. So it's like, oh my God, can I just fucking
know
laugh
more about it now because we have so much more access to the information. Like before, you're like, it's probably always been this bad. It's just now we know, it's bad in every single part of everything, everywhere. Yeah.
Totally. And I think that, news 24 hours news cycles make more money on making people scared and shit than they do saying the world's good. So they definitely, and Twitter has more engagement when people are angry and pissed off and fighting. So it's like, makes sense that that's what we're seeing so much of now. But also I think from all that like bad, sad negativity, it's kind of also, I would say comedy's going through a renaissance right now. I don't know. Would you guys agree? Being a part of it, watching it, being so close to it.
I wouldn't know if I don't know if it's a good renaissance though. That's what I'm worried about. I think it's a flooding of sorts, and I do feel like we need to sort some things out. Like, because a lot of people came on board during COVID. A lot of people had the time, and they're like, "I'm gonna do stand-up comedy," and we've had some really funny people come out of that, and we've also had some brutal open mics to watch come out of that. So,
I think what's changed is the when I started, and Drew's probably in the same boat, there was older guys just telling you very early on, Blake as well, like it was like guys telling Blake and I, like, this is a marathon, this is not a sprint, so do not ask for too much too soon, but take any opportunity that you can get. But remember, like, you're going to be so much better on year 10 than you're ever going to be in year 3, And I feel like that mentality, it's still locked in with a lot of people that started around that time. And we're seeing those people now blow up a little bit, and it shows. But I think there's a lot of, like, because of the potential overnight fame on YouTube or whatever it is, there's a lack of patience in a lot of comics these days. So they just kind of rush together a 20-minute set when they don't really even have 8, to be completely honest.
I don't know how you feel about this, Will, but I don't, and this could be the same thing you just said about the way of the world, and we just have more access to it. Like, I feel like now more than ever, there's so many voices out there. Like, people, every time I go to a show, I hear 3 comics telling the baby comic, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. Like,
absolutely.
I feel like there's so many more opinions. Like, when I first started out, there was like 3 comics in the scene you listen to, and everyone else you're like, yeah, whatever, you can miss me with that. If they didn't tell me, I don't care. But now I was in a green room at a show the other day, and this one comic had a question, and like every single comic that had over 2 years experience
opinion.
had something to
Yeah.
say, and it was all
And
different,
it's 2 years.
and
It's like,
none of it
God.
really made sense. And I was just like, y'all are like, now more than ever, if you
Mm.
were a baby comic, please, please, please take what advice you're getting out there with a grain of salt. Like, who's giving it?
Well, because
Does it
everything
make
used to be
sense?
subjective, right? It was like, yeah, it was like it works for you or it might not work for you. That's how I try and approach it when anyone asks me advice. Is I always say like, look, here's what I wish someone had told me when I was younger. Here's what I've learned on my own. But again, that worked for me. It might not work for you. You know,
Yeah,
like this is what I like to do in comedy. This is how I like to navigate it. But again,
yeah,
this is just my opinion. Like,
yeah,
like there's
yeah.
no one really going to sit down and go, here's the perfect path. Like that's like what we were talking about when Gary Goldman was doing the tweets. When he was doing the like, do you remember that a couple years ago when Gary Goldman was doing like
Yeah.
comedy tweets of like how to get into comedy and all this stuff?
Yeah.
And 3 out of 4 would be like perfect, like exactly. Like,
Yeah.
this is like what a young comic needs to hear. And then the fourth one would always be like, well, that's very specifically Gary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no,
But again,
Garrett, I
like,
do
yeah,
agree with you. Out of this, we are getting some quality for sure. Like, I feel like there's comics that are just killing it right now. Like, anytime something comes out of their mouth, I'm dead set on hearing what they got to say. So I
yeah.
do feel
Well, I
like,
feel like
yes, we do have a lot of quantity right now, but the quality is the best it's ever been,
still going
in
to the
my
top.
opinion.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that you're seeing more, dude, like there's more just like, and this is a good and a bad thing, right? Too, but there's more casual comedy fans now because
Yeah.
of podcasts, because of YouTube, because of
So many
fucking
different
Joe
avenues
Rogan,
now.
whatever.
Like, I love
Yeah,
you
like
can
there's
be a
people.
comedian and not necessarily like be a traditional stand up. Like, you have a very successful podcast. You have a very successful
Mhm.
sketch group. And I love that. I love that there's way more avenues than just tradition, because there's so many people I knew coming up that were very funny, not stand up funny, but they like
Mm,
their sketches were brilliant, or I would love to watch a talk show with them as the host. Like, I love that there's more opportunities now than ever to find what fits you and
mhm,
get that out to the public.
mhm. And make money from this shit, dude, because that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing to do.
Right.
Oh my God. Dude, me and Brandon got paid the other day and we were like, what? It didn't even cover gas. Like,
Yeah.
like we were like, what is happening?
Dude, it's sad because it's like I feel like comedy is one of the financially one of the toughest fucking arts to make a living from, dude. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? I'm sure that and like music maybe, but like just
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I every the one thing we hear from everywhere we go, all the comics we talk to is like it's tough,
Yeah.
brother. It's tough to make money doing this
Yeah.
stuff.
And even the guys that are successful that I consider very successful, they have to do the road every single weekend. I mean, that was a very interesting thing to watch on Instagram and Twitter during the very beginning of COVID. Was just like, I don't know, you remember when Norm Macdonald passed away? Around that time, a lot of comics were sharing stories with him, and I think it was Joe List actually
RIP,
like
man.
shared a DM uh with Norm Macdonald that was like he was like, yeah, man, like I've already lost like 7 grand on shows being canceled. And I forget Norm's response. It was classic Norm where he was like, who would pay you 7 grand for anything? Like what, something like that.
Yeah.
But I remember like but I saw that the number, I was like, wow, that's a grind. That's still, I'm like, he's at this level and that is still a
Yeah,
grind.
man.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the grind. I enjoy being on the road. I enjoy running around. So like if it means I get to do that, I'll do it.
Yeah. I think even so we've worked with a few bigger comics just as like on a production level, not putting their stuff out, but shooting stuff for them. And we're close, like we talk with managers, we talk with touring managers, comic managers, and I think like it's just so crazy. You can be a massive name, dude, and still just be like your city, the cities you go to are so hit and miss. Like
Yeah.
we know a pretty big comic, I would say, worked with him. And it's like, you might make a killing in Cincinnati and then 2 nights before in Louisville or whatever your
No
tour is
one's
taking
there.
you, you don't make shit. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it's like this
So it's like,
dude's huge. And
yeah,
he's
it's
a,
like the door
you know,
deals versus like what you negotiate beforehand. I mean, there's so many other moving parts behind that. Like, I'm just starting to learn that as like some of my friends get some of those deals.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, how'd you get this one off? And he's like, oh, it's a gamble. It's like, I could make a bunch of money. Like exactly what you're saying is like, I could make a bunch or I could lose money, and it's just, and it's like the idea of the comic losing money on the show is so
Yeah.
fascinating because there
Yeah.
wouldn't be anyone there otherwise.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then sometimes people just fucking print money too. So it's like
Yeah.
such a strange dynamic of like where everybody kind of falls and lands as far as like how they're able to get, make a living doing it. And
Yeah. Like when
And
I
have
saw
fun
Matt
doing it.
Rife's house when he did his like that thing with Ashton Kutcher where he was like releasing his special or he was making the announcement and everyone's in a whole thing about it. When I saw his house, I was like, I don't think I did comedy right.
that guy,
Yeah.
when I say print, people are printing money. That's
He's
what I'm
printing
talking
money
about.
right now.
That's
He
I
is
mean, I
fucking
looked on the
printing.
calendar. He's already sold out
The
Zany's
world.
like 6 months from now.
The world.
Dude,
Like
He sold out
like I
his
said,
world tour in 3 days.
we know his boy that is his clip guy, and I mean he's got some stories, but dude, it's like that motherfucker is printing money, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
get it while you get it. You never know when it, because
Sure.
that was the
That's
thing
what,
I
and
have to
that's what I
keep
say.
telling myself is like defining success. Like I could be Matt Rife's level tomorrow, but like who sustains that? Everyone has their
Yeah, no,
time. No one stays
Yeah.
that high, like everyone that's
forever.
been the top.
I mean,
Like now, people that were the top when we started, you mentioned their name, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Like no
oh, yeah.
one's.
I was watching TV the other day and I was like, oh wait, I booked that person before. Just like things like that. You're just like, oh god, yeah,
So
wow,
I
all right.
really have
Totally.
tried to temper my level of what I think is success. If I'm having fun doing this and I'm able to continue doing this and it's not causing me grief or struggle in my life like it
Yeah.
can. I've seen comedy ruin people's lives.
Yeah.
But I count that if I got a little bit of a buzz about me, people are starting to know who I am. Like so I'll take that as making it, so to speak. I would love the bank account to reflect that, but it doesn't always.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, a lot of the with this special with like my head turning towards like a positive from a negative. I think one thing that clicked in my brain too was with the special was like I've been seeing a lot of people that I started out with or I gave opportunities too early on and now they're kind of passing me or they're doing things that I've like never been able to do. And before you'd be like, oh, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? And then now my mentality is like, well, if they can do it, I can definitely do it.
Yeah.
I just need to get this special out and start putting myself out there more, and because that is a lot of it is like just getting yourself
Getting
out
out
there
there.
and just getting people to know that you're there.
Yeah.
So that's where my mentality's been is like, get it out. Let's see what happens next. Go to El Salvador for 3 weeks, find a wife, come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have to
To
ask
be-
you, what is your absolute favorite time? Like, if you're sitting down to watch a comedy special, like, are you hoping it's 20 minutes, a half hour, full hour? Like, what's your sweet spot of a special to you?
I'll tell you, I say this to comics all the time because I do get questions like this. I don't care how long it is. I just need it to look good and be funny. And I'll sit there I mean, I don't want to sit there for an hour and a half or 2 hours
Right.
necessarily. But I mean, the difference to me between an hour and 30 minutes isn't even noticeable if I'm really enjoying the special. If I think two of the biggest factors, at least we're noticing with specials, is like if they look pretty well shot and like, you know what I mean? It could be a 2 cam, it could be a 6 cam. It doesn't matter. If they kind of look good, if the backdrop looks nice, and if the jokes are good and funny, like that is really that's what matters. I mean, we've seen specials that were 30 minutes do really well. We've seen specials that are an hour and some change do really well. So it kind of just burns down to like was this well shot and like a decent looking play? Because people don't, even when it's really funny, sometimes you might lose people. Not always. I mean, we've had special that were submitted to us that don't really look like that well shot, but the jokes are good. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, people want to watch it. So that isn't always the deal breaker, but it definitely, some of our best performers look great. It's just like the special itself looks really nice.
The
You know
total
what I mean?
package keeps
And
you
I think
entertained,
that,
looks well, all that good stuff.
yeah,
I got you.
yeah. People want to sit there and watch something if it looks good. You know, it's
Yeah.
that barrier. Think about it this way: it's like that is probably the first step you have to get over, and all the important stuff is really like, are the jokes good, is the timing, punchlines, all that stuff. But getting people over that first hump is important. Getting people over that first hurdle of like, does it pass the eye test? You know what I mean? Is it
Yeah.
look halfway decent?
Are they going to watch past the first 5 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's
exactly.
like there are certain things. Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Thumbnails too, which Will's thumbnail looks fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Your
shout
boy
out
I mean, he got the
Jeff
best
Tice
in the
on that
best in the biz. You know, that's awesome.
Jeff Tice, baby.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
God does
Everyone wants a
not
Jeff Tice
miss.
original. No.
Huh?
I said everyone wants a Jeff Tice original. So that's awesome.
And the funny thing is, and if you've listened to the podcast, you know how this came about. But we had Jeff on the podcast to talk about having a career in graphic design and a career and we talk about the Denver comedy scene, talk about his upcoming headlining set and all that kind of stuff. And then I just casually mentioned like, yeah, I actually tried to hire you like 3 years ago, but it's been sitting in your like other inbox on Facebook for like 3 years. And then he like literally answered me while we were doing this, and then we've been just working on this ever
Will
since.
bullied him into getting this work done. Is what
I bullied him. Yeah, I bullied 6'3" Jeff Tice.
Worth it. He did a good job.
Yeah, right. All right, fellas.
Yeah, he's great.
We got to wrap it up. I want to keep talking forever, but here it is. Where's it at? Where are we tuning in on Thursday to check this bad boy out?
This Thursday, the Pride of Hagerstown, by considered quite possibly the most talented individual to come out of Hagerstown, Maryland. There's also so many.
You hear that, LA?
Town. It's such an insult to so many athletes that are just like incredible. Like they're all pro. Like it's so funny, but it doesn't matter. This Thursday
for you,
September 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on 4x3's YouTube, we can watch The Pride of Hagerstown, the debut special from Will Abeles.
Can't wait, man. I know what I'm going to be doing. I love it.
We're
Yeah, it's
excited.
gonna be great. Yeah. I'm excited for it. I just don't. The thing is, I'm going to go on a ramble. Like, I just don't know what to do. I'm like, am I just going to sit here and watch by myself?
Yeah,
Or,
I watched it at midnight when mine dropped, so I hear you.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, I'm proud of you, man.
Answer everybody. Yeah, on top of the comments.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy for you, Garrett. Thank you so much for coming on, helping us peek behind the curtain, see the process, all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Where can people find 4x3 and all of the stuff you guys are putting out?
Yeah, so check us out on Instagram at 4x3 Comedy. You'll see us announce Will's special this week. We'll be dropping some clips and cross posting with him, all week, and once that special's out. And then find us on YouTube. You can literally search 4x3 Comedy or at 4x3. That's where you can watch all of our specials, and make sure to, of course, check out Will's special this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, like he said.
See, look at this, Will. This is genius, man. We bring on guests that promote you. Like, that's good. Look at you. I see.
I don't know why we do this every single time. I don't know why we don't. It should always. There's always should be like this.
No, Garrett, we appreciate you so much, man, and on a whole nother level, just appreciate all the work you guys are doing at 4x3, getting independent comedy out there to the masses. So, truly doing the Lord's work. So, I appreciate you,
dude. Thank y'all.
Yeah, and
can't do it without you guys. It's been fun.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thank you, man. Check out all that good Project Nerd content. This is it for us for season 3. So stay tuned for when we drop season 4, all that good stuff. But check out all their great content in the meantime.
Season 4 is just about me, Drew. Just about me. You're not even going to be on.
Thank God
it.
this season's
over. Get the Zoom.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
funny friends. My funny friends. My funny, funky, funny friends now. My funny friends. My funny friends. My funny, funky, funny friends now.
Did Project Nerd make that?